the border.
So the House and Senate are really on a collision course here. The House is looking to pass its Israel aid package as soon as Thursday. The Senate is teeing up that broader package. Unclear when it will get a vote. Could be sometime next week. And meanwhile, government funding expires in just 3 weeks. So Congress doesn't have a lot of time to figure it out, Jake.
All right, Melanie Zanona, thanks so much. I want to bring in Eric Erickson, the host of the Eric Erickson Show. Eric, you just heard Melanie Zanona's report. House Republicans under Speaker Mike Johnson working on a bill that would tie Israel aid to $14 billion in spending cuts that had been allocated to the IRS to, crack down on tax cheats, et cetera, et cetera. Senate Democrats said that would be dead on arrival. I have to say, just hearing what Mitch McConnell said, supporting aid for Israel, aid for Ukraine, aid for Taiwan, and strengthening the border, that just sounds like 4 things that Republicans would be in favor of. I'm kind of confused why House Republicans wouldn't be in favor of it.
Yeah, look, there's a division as to how much to fund, and I think they support almost all of them, but we do have a problem on our hands as a nation. We're rapidly getting to the point where the bond yield is going to push us to all of our revenue coming in is going to have to just pay debt service. So Republicans are starting to think we've got to cut. They've contributed to the problem and should be honest about it. But as much as I'm with Mitch McConnell on wanting to fund these things, I also do see we're headed towards a serious fiscal crisis in the country and do need to start having the conversation about what to cut.
Even if the aid for Israel and Ukraine were decoupled, do you think Speaker Johnson would be willing to bring a vote on a bill for Ukraine aid to the floor? Because there's obviously majority support for it if you include Democrats and Republicans, but the question is, would a Speaker Johnson be willing to bring the vote to the floor, even if he opposed it, knowing that it would pass?
He has said he would in the past, and I suspect he would. I'm told behind the scenes he's sympathetic to funding Ukraine. His concern is the waste in graft in Ukraine and probably needing an inspector general tied into overseeing the money. At the same time, he's been amenable to funding Ukraine in the past. He's been very strong about supporting Ukraine in the past. Obviously, the dynamics have changed with him in the Speaker's chair, but you've got a majority in the House that want it, and there are mechanisms in the House for a majority to get something to the floor, even if the Speaker doesn't want it. And I suspect you'd see moderate Republicans and Democrats unite in doing that if the Speaker doesn't allow and control the vote.
How do you see Speaker Johnson? Do you think that he's going to be, remember it's, Speaker of the House, not Speaker of one party or the other. Do you think he's going to be somebody that will be able to work with Senate Democrats, work with President Biden, come up with compromises, obviously, push for what he wants, but ultimately meet in the middle, ultimately strike bargains, or do you think he's ultimately more of a Jim Jordan type?
I think he's between where Jordan and McCarthy were. He will cut the deals that need to be cut to keep the government governing, but at the same time, he's going to fight harder than McCarthy would. He's not willing to shut everything down and go for broke. He does understand he's in a precarious position with moderate Republicans as well, but he is going to fight harder than I think conservatives expected McCarthy would, because, again, it is something that we as a nation have to deal with, Jake, that we're about to be in a position where 100% of revenue to the government goes just to debt service, so we won't even be able to fund anything without issuing more bonds, accumulating more debt, and that's going to put us in a real world of hurt. So we've got to be mindful that I want all these things funded, too, more aggressively than he does, but I also realize where we're headed as a nation financially. Interest rates probably going back up again tomorrow.
Yeah. Senate Republicans appear also divided on whether aid for Israel should be tied to aid for Ukraine. Take a listen.
Well, if we're going to have a piece of legislation that actually becomes law, it's going to include support for Ukraine as well as Israel. It's not acceptable to abandon Ukraine. That would be devastating to our interests around the world.
We have a Republican majority in the House, and so we have to be listening to what they want to do. And my understanding is Speaker Johnson's been clear. He is going to not put Ukraine aid together with aid for Israel, and I completely agree with you.
How do you think Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell should handle this predicament of a House Republican conference that just views this differently than he does?
McConnell's an expert at doing what they call jamming the House, sending over what he wants on a timeline that makes it unavoidable to get. And I suspect you'll see those Republicans and the Democrats jam the House on this. Thanks to Matt Gaetz, they dragged the speaker fight out for so long. We're within about 2.5 weeks of our government shutdown. And that puts the Senate in the driver's seat. They've been there all along plotting while the House Republicans were in chaos. Advantage goes to the Senate.
Taking what is playing out here over aid to Israel, how do you see this going when the House and the Senate and the White House need to come to an agreement over a bill to fund the government in just a few weeks?
Look, I suspect what you're going to find is they will pull some of the Israel-Ukraine funding out. They will deal with it together as a separate piece of legislation, and they'll kick the can down the road for the larger spending issues until January or April, coming up with a continuing resolution. That was Kevin McCarthy's plan. Mike Johnson sounds like that's his plan as well. So they'll deal with everything, but they've got to slow the train down a little bit thanks to the chaos we've had for the last few weeks. Things will get funded. I doubt the government's going to shut down, and we will just kick the can down the road further.
Congress's favorite game, kick the can. Eric Erickson, thanks so much.
Yep.
Good to see you, sir. Coming up, the disturbing spike in anti-Semitic threats. Oh, thank you, Eric. Coming up, the disturbing spike in anti-Semitic threats in the United States since the start of this war started by Hamas against Israel. Stay with us.
Our mission here at CNN is that the news comes first. That's the promise of the Situation Room. We work as hard as we can to get the facts.
The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer, next on CNN.
With Verizon Business Unlimited, I get 5G, truly unlimited data, and unlimited hotspot data. So no matter what, I'm running this kitchen.
Make the switch. It's your business. It's your Verizon.
If you're on Medicare, remember, the annual enrollment period is here. The time to choose your coverage begins October 15th and ends December 7th. So call United Healthcare and see how you can get more of what matters with our broad range of plans, including an AARP Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. It can combine your hospital and doctor coverage with Part D prescription drug coverage and more, all in one simple plan. These plans are made to support your whole health with $0 annual physical exams, $0 lab tests, and $0 preventive care like mammograms and colonoscopies. And you'll get more for your Medicare dollar with $0 copays on most covered dental services, a $0 eye exam, and an allowance for eyewear, plus $0 copays on hundreds of prescriptions at the pharmacy or by mail. Now's the time to look at United Healthcare's variety of plans. So give us a call to learn more about coverage options in your area. With our Right Plan promise, you have our commitment to helping you find the right plan for your needs. And to help make life with Medicare simpler, you'll get the all-in-one member U-Card. Only from United Healthcare, the U-Card is your United Healthcare member ID and much more. Show your U-Card when you visit your primary care provider, dentist, or eye doctor, or fill a prescription at the pharmacy, and use it to access Medicare Advantage's largest national network of providers. You can count on United Healthcare to help you get the care you need when you need it. Enrollment ends December 7th. Now's the time to learn more about America's most chosen Medicare Advantage plans and how they can open doors to a simpler healthcare experience with the all-in-one U-Card. Call United Healthcare today about the only Medicare Advantage plans with the AARP name and get more of what matters to you.
Hey, guys! Let's do it!
Protect your truck with laser-measured WeatherTech floor liners in the front
It's perfect!
and rear. Under-seat storage system. No drill mud flaps. The tech liner to protect the bed and tailgate. Bump step to guard the rear bumper. And the cup phone to secure your phone.
Yes! Guys?
Order your American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Stop! I am a good zombie!
This October, spirits come home to rest. All month
month long.
This place is really haunted.
What a weird mystery. With Hollow Scream on Disney+.
We're gonna scare you. Boo.
Home is where the hunt is.
It's time.
Custom Ink helps us motivate our students with custom gear. We love how Custom Ink takes care of everything we need so we can focus on the kids.
Custom Ink has hundreds of products to help you feel connected. Upload your logo or start your design today at customink.com.
This is the #1 hair supplement in Scandinavia, and let me tell you, they know what they're doing with beauty.
Find us at Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Amazon, or NewNordicUSA.com.
I'm Paula Reed, and this is CNN.
And we're back now from Tel Aviv, and a major update back in the United States concerning threats against the Jewish community at Cornell University. New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced earlier today a person is in the custody of New York State Police. Authorities began investigating over the weekend after online posts threatened students in a Jewish dorm and the university's kosher dining hall. Governor Hochul visited the campus to tell Jewish students, quote, they are not alone.
Will resist.
At a high school in Mechanicsville, Virginia, someone painted a swastika on the football field. Authorities in Connecticut are investigating a swastika drawn on a high school campus in Stamford. It is the second time the symbol has been found there since October 7th. Today, the director of the FBI testified before Congress on the rise of these anti-Semitic incidents throughout the United States. This week, the Justice Department announced more than $38 million in grants to help local communities combat anti-Semitism. Joining us now to discuss the troubling rise of anti-Semitism in the U.S., former Democratic Congressman of Florida Ted Deutsch, who is the CEO of the American Jewish Community. Congressman, thanks for joining us. So according to the ADL, anti-Semitic incidents in the U.S. have increased nearly 400% since October 7th. Today, FBI Director Wray said these incidents are reaching historic levels. What do you make of it all?
Well, this is a really important moment, Jake, for the country and for the world. This is not just painting swastikas, as terrible as that is. This is not just painting Jewish stars on the homes of Jews, as concerning as that is. This is a straight line from what happened on October 7th, when Hamas terrorists killed 1,400 people, men, women, children, raping women, killing babies, burning them alive, decapitating the people they killed, and capturing it all on GoPro cameras. It's a straight line from what happened that day to where we are today. And that line takes us through professors on college campuses who viewed what happened on October 7th, that horrific massacre, as resistance. It's a straight line between October 7th and what we've seen on Cornell's campus, what we've seen on other campuses across the country, what we've seen all around the world with people screaming, kill the Jews, gas the Jews, F the Jews. This is a moment where we all have to sit up, Jews and non-Jews alike, and recognize the threat to the Jewish community that exists as a result of people standing on the side of Hamas terrorists who massacred 1,400, and standing on the side of civilization against those Hamas terrorists. That's the moment that we're in. So it requires leadership everywhere, at every level of universities and government and business.
So a lot of the anti-Semitism that was public and a lot of the threats were from the right for years and years, beginning with the Trump era when that crowd began feeling emboldened and began saying the quiet part out loud. But what you're talking about, quite honestly, a lot of it's from the left. A lot of it, quite honestly, is from the left. And I'm wondering if you think the party to which you belong, the Democratic Party, is outspoken enough. If you think the Democratic House leader, Hakeem Jeffries, is outspoken enough, if you think Democratic leaders from coast to coast are outspoken enough, not just saying that they decry anti-Semitism, but in calling out specific individuals in the Democratic Party who espouse what you're talking about.
Yes, Jake, that is exactly what should happen. We have seen the playbook that's being used that, for example, brings in the Democratic Socialists of America as allies. And when DSA candidates who run as Democrats or affiliate with the Democratic Party talk about intifada, which is code for, not code, it reflects right back to what happened earlier this century when 1,000 Israelis were slaughtered as a result of suicide bombs on buses and cafes and bars and clubs. That's a call for violence. When they say Palestine from the river to the sea, you know this, you're there. From the river to the sea means no Israel. It means exactly what Hamas wants, killing all the Jews. So every Democratic official should sever any ties with the DSA and the role that they play contributing politically to this horrific uptick in anti-Semitism. The same thing is true, Jake, as you may recall, I called out a colleague on the floor of the House who started using some of the same rhetoric. We have to be clear, wherever anti-Semitism comes from, right or left, we've got to call it out wherever we see it. That includes in politics, it includes universities, it includes businesses. There can be zero tolerance for this Jew hatred that has put so many at risk right now in America.
Just for the record, you were talking about Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, and the debate was about whether or not to fund the Iron Dome that I have seen in the 8 days I've been here stop so many Hamas rockets from killing so many Israeli civilians. Congressman Ted Deutsch, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. The controversial decision to open Gaza's Rafah crossing tomorrow. Who gets out and who's forced to stay in? That's next.
How long have you been tracking the value of our car? Should we sell it?
Do we hold?
Our low mileage is paying off. You think we should?
Hold.
Already sold the Carvana. Go to Carvana and track your car's value today.
Having more energy for me means I want to go out and do more with my life. With Cerevital Advance, I wake up refreshed. I have the energy to travel and live the life I want. And people thinking my daughter is my sister, that never gets old. Cerevital Advance helps me live a beautiful life.
Cerevital Advance is an award-winning supplemented alpha. Go to trycerevital.com for your risk-free trial. Just call 800-719-6260 or visit trycerevital.com.
Whenever you're hungry, there's a deal on the Subway app. Buy 1 foot long, get 50% off in the Subway app today.
Now that's a deal worth celebrating.
Man, what are you doing? Get it before it's gone on the Subway app.
We're here today to set the record straight about Dupuytren's contracture. Surgery is not your only treatment option. People may think their contracture has to be severe to be treated, but it doesn't. Visit findahandspecialist.com today to get started.
At Consumer Cellular, we offer amazing 5G coverage, backed up by incredible customer service. But that wouldn't mean much without super low prices. You already know we're up to half as much as the largest carriers. But guess what? AARP members.
Nip Anti-Semitism in the Bud. A song by Paul Beckman, Paul Rainbow song. Also the noon first leader of humankind in the free world. Created October 31st, 2023, Halloween. Nip Anti-Semitism in the Bud. Nip Anti-Semitism in the bud. Nip anti-Semitism, nip it in the bud, yeah. Got to nip anti-Semitism in the bud. Nip the bud. Yeah. Gotta nip anti-Semitism in the bud. In the bud. Yeah. Gotta nip anti-Semitism in the bud.